Folks, we're in California. Mike and I, we're in the same building. We just had a fire alarm go off.
Yeah, that was a good way to wake up.
We got to tell you about a couple of things that happened on our trip so far. We also want to tell you the rise of the term Christian nationalism has been something that I didn't even want to cover. I think it was just foolish, but the reason we need to cover is because the accusations that are coming out against Christians saying we want this totally Christian government. We just kind of want to talk about that, blow it out of the water a little bit. So find out all this and more on Self-Evident Podcast. And now a fair word from our president.
A nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
Moved every time.
Just feels that Christian nationalism come through my veins. Guys, if you're not a subscriber, if you're not a donor yet, you better get in on it. Look, just take our advice here and do this.
Yeah. That's who you want to subscribe to, is exactly that. That's your guy.
It's just, guys, get a shirt. We got our new ones out now. Look at that. Isn't that great?
They're going like hotcakes.
They really
are.
To get them, man. They really are. We're actually have to put in some new orders again. So thank you so much for all your support, your love. And don't forget to be one of those, a torchbearer. You guys can be a monthly partner of our ministry. We love when you guys support. Look, the places you guys are sending us to is pretty incredible, and we can't do this without you. So, with that all being said, we're in Cali.
Man, it's been a trip. It's been a trip.
Yeah, well, okay, not that we're talking about afflictions here. We're not talking Paul-type afflictions.
I don't know. I might write about it later from my book of the Bible.
Yeah, well, so let me just say, we pay for convenience that inconveniences us, right? Like, I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, what we pay for to convenience us actually has inconvenienced us more as society, as families. Yeah. We pay for things like computers, phones, blah, 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 and it's inconvenienced us more.
Number one inconvenience is your phone.
It is, because now it's taken us away from, like, actually talking to people, looking at people in the eye, our sons and daughters, for the most part, in a lot of ways. I shouldn't say for the most part. I got to be careful about blanket statements. But in a lot of ways, our children now have left off family, right, in pursuit of the phone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at my son over there who's
literally headphones.
I think he might be doing some school. I don't know what he's doing. But we also have this era that electronics break, and we have to keep supplying it because we're so addicted to this electronic culture, this electronic nature. Well, then it happens also in other ways, like flying, for example. We pay for convenience because it's going to get us there, but then the inconvenience of paying for convenience, and the way they charge you, you can't get anything fairly inexpensive anymore. So real quick, we were supposed to fly out of West Palm. My flight cancels. I have to speak Thursday, but this is Wednesday. They said, pick another flight. We'll book you for free. And I'm like, oh, gee, thanks. So,
free, no. As in we'll transfer you.
Let's just get this straight. The airline did not cancel because of the rain. I know there was heavy rains that day, but other planes flew that day.
Flew out of West Palm.
Right. So the only flight they had was for Thursday afternoon. Well, that's impossible because I got to speak Thursday. So I found a flight in Jacksonville. So that's 3 hours north of us. So instead of driving 40 minutes to the airport, I had to drive 3 hours north with Mike and my son. So we drive 3 hours north, and it was quite a tour. I get up there. The airline's weighing our bags because we carry all of our stuff in bags. And so they said, your bag is 3 pounds overweight. Do you want to take some out and put it in another bag? Well, the problem is we were so cut for time. I think we only had an hour left. We hadn't even got through security yet. I didn't know how long that would take. So I was like, listen, just put it through. Is there any way we can work this out? She said, I have to charge you $75. Keep in mind, we've already paid for our bags. I'm going to charge $75 for 3 pounds. Like, all right. I said, I was going to make a joke. Never mind. So we get through the TSA. This is unbelievable. And this is a ploy. I'm firmly believing they just actually image what they want to. And I'll tell you why in a minute. I've traveled the last 3 weekends, I think, to different states. I've gone to Missouri, Montana, now California. I've been through the same scanners. I wear the exact same outfit for each one because it's convenient. So my shoes are kind of they're the Nike Panda shoes, so they slip on, slip off. I wear the same type of short. The shirt, usually it's a black one like this, just to be comfortable. So I get there, and there's a ping that there's something in my groin area, my
right
crotch area. And so the guy's like, I have to put my hand down your crotch, and I made a scene, boy. I didn't yell. I was just saying this is baloney. You know what I mean? I'm not letting you touch me. And instead of, like Mike said, why didn't they just suggest that you go through the scanner again to see if it's actually true? Well, I've never been pinged like this before. All of a sudden, now I have something in my groin. This is why I'm firmly telling you guys that I'm believing this, that they're just imaging what they want to. They
random selection.
Yeah, and it's perverted, bro.
They never sent you back through, right?
Nah.
That wasn't part of the procedure. They didn't at least take a wand first.
Right.
No, we got to grope you.
Yeah.
Buy me dinner first. It's like, and the other part of it is, of course, they kept telling him, you're holding up the line. We can't let anybody through until you complete crap, because they could have asked, hey, can you step aside? We're going to move people through. Let's figure this out. And of course, this 5'8" TSA manager comes up, steps up to
He
Massey.
really did.
He was
peacocking. He was peacocking. He was like, here's my feathers.
I'm watching this from the eye going, bro, you need to find a new line of work. This isn't suiting you.
So needless to say, I said I'm willing to drop my pants right now and be naked and show you I have nothing in my groin area. And listen, I'm reading James 2. I'm just being honest here. I shouldn't have gone that far. I repented. I said, Lord, that was probably wrong of me. I shouldn't have done that. So we go through that fiasco. Our bags are held up too because of our contact solution that they ended up keeping.
Yeah. Both of our bags were held to be searched
because of contact solution that we ended up keeping.
Yes.
And mine's oversized, actually.
Yeah.
So they ended up giving it back to me anyways and putting it. Anyway, so we get here.
And don't forget, our flights were delayed.
I was going to get there.
Oh.
Because we hadn't left Jacksonville yet.
Oh, did we have something else before we left Jacksonville?
Well, that flight got delayed, but then we got to Texas.
I see where you're going.
Then we got to Texas. That flight got delayed another 2 hours.
It was
2.5 hours maybe.
Yeah.
So then we get on the plane from Dallas to California, and it's roughly 1:45. We haven't gotten our bags yet from bag claim. We get outside. It's probably 2:15. I try to Uber someone. Nobody's around to Uber, so I see this little taxi guy. We have a little video of it we'll show later on. But it's a Prius, guys. There's 3 grown adults here, like
Massey, me, Isaiah.
Isaiah's 5'10",
and he's what, 190?
200. He's 200.
Is he 200?
Yeah. I'm 5'6". And you're about what, 5'10",
5'10", 200 right now.
200. And it's like,
and 6 bags,
six luggage bags plus our backpacks
in a Prius, mind you.
If we didn't look Mexican then.
So we get all of our bags into the Prius somehow. And the 3 of us are.
This is one of those moments, man. I wish we'd have just blogged it.
Oh, man. So 2:00 in the morning, finally get to the hotel. and Massey and I realized, boy, we've been up for about 24 hours now.
Yeah, total, because we're behind 3 hours. We're in California. So we're here. We got to ministry yesterday. That was really fun.
Did.
Now, I will say this. We did keep joy. We laughed. We weren't angry or anything. We're just telling you these are the momentary light afflictions.
You see the beauty and glory of the ministry. This is how the sausage gets made sometimes. You got to put up with it.
Yeah. I'll say the reason why I'm telling you this, I actually confessed it yesterday while I was preaching that, man, I let my tongue go. And I don't mean like cussing or nothing. I'm saying I just got angry and I realized what did that accomplish? What did that prove? And so we're on here talking to you about what's going on. So then last night, after the first day of the event, which went amazing, yesterday, we talked about the American slavery issue. We go to this restaurant and it's got like great reviews, and it's just this little shop. It's called Nice Guys Burgers.
It's
Well,
in a strip mall, just this little nondescript place, you know, and we step in and dude,
go ahead.
it amazing food,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And the food was kind of the least of it, right? But amazing food. So if you're in the Ontario, California area, if you're here for the homeschool convention, come up and say hi, talk to us, let us know that you heard this podcast. And you're like, you guys are crazy. That's fine.
That's cool.
But Nice Guys Burgers, right?
Yes.
Nice Guys Burgers, not too far from here. It's like 10 minutes from here or something. Absolutely outstanding food, and it's two brothers that own it, and the brother that we talked to, who it sounds like he kind of works the night shift, right? The other brother works the morning shift. So just the nicest guy you could possibly meet. And if you're paid, if you're watching, bro, if you're listening, shout out to you, man. We love talking to you. And his whole thing, and we just wanted to touch on this real quickly, and then we'll get into the whole other stuff, is his heart is for servanthood, man. And I mean it like down to the core. He wants to serve people. He wants to be able to help others, and so much so that the food they make, they try to make it without any of the junk and the processing and the chemicals.
That was cool.
Like that shows that, okay, that's where your heart is like you want to serve. And it was so cool because I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in the other aspects of ministry. We get wrapped up in the other parts of Christianity, of our own righteousness, of our own, consecration, of our own theology, of our own doctrines, all of that stuff, which none of that is bad. But his heart was for service to others in any way, shape, or form that he could do it. I mean, the guy like created an app that was for people to be kind to each other type stuff. He wants this restaurant to bless other people. He wants to go out and help people. And if we can take on that service heart, I mean, that's the heart of Christ, right? Christ even said, look, the Gentiles, they lord it over each other, but the greatest of you will serve each other, right? You'll be servants to each other. The least of these are the greatest, right? When you get down and wash the feet of your peers, you're doing it with the heart of Christ. You're trying to serve others, right?
Right. No, and to kind of bring that into even more of a cool thing, we were talking to him. He's telling us to read these certain books that really he knows his stuff, and it's just this guy behind the counter. He told us he started off in a small shop they made $35 a day, and he said, when we got a combo, we would like jump for joy, like say, we got someone ordered a combo, and now he's got his own little shop. But one of the things that impressed me was each worker, he was so encouraging to, and he wasn't just doing it for show. He was like, he goes, I help these guys with their lives. I tell them, like, be careful who you associate with. Distractions will destroy what your future plans are. Don't get distracted by little stupid things that won't benefit. I mean, it's just the advice he gives. And this guy was just like this normal guy, and his attitude was fantastic. And he goes, you guys are from Florida? I said, yeah. He goes, what do you think this would succeed in Florida? I'm like, bruh, like,
gangbusters.
With that attitude and the way you talk to people and just your presentation and like how you encourage, everybody needs that. And I think in Florida, especially, you know what I mean, with so many people coming in from different states and stuff like that, like you see like how people treat each other. I mean, if you go down to the restaurant industry, there are many people who are good and there are many people who are just meaner than mean. And just to have, I mean, literally they call it Nice Guys Burgers. Genuinely nice people. And we'll probably get them on a podcast here, just do a live with them, just because it just was so impressive. And everything was chemical free. It seemed like everything they had
tasted amazing.
Oh my goodness. Man. Yeah. He stuffed his fat face with a burger. I had chicken and rice, just so everyone's aware. I did. I posted it.
Bus me.
No, I'm kidding. No, he did awesome. Ate all his fries too. Anywho's, so no, guys, again, we'll do a podcast with him. I just thought it was so impressive to see these people. And you know what? We need good stories for a change. I'm tired sometimes of talking about the things that are always negative, and just good, wholesome people who need the gospel. This guy, I don't know if he's Muslim or not. He kept saying certain things like God is kind. And so I was like, okay, we got to talk to him about Jesus, especially Mikey here. He kind of started talking to him more about the Lord. But really, the whole point of this podcast today is to tell you, look, man, at the end of the day, James talks about keeping your tongue and having joy through trial and persevere and all this other stuff. And it's like, did we have a trial? No. I mean, it was just it was inconveniences. Yeah. And it's like people will go, oh my gosh, I'm just getting attacked and everything. It's like, no, you're not. It's an inconvenience. And you can call it an attack. It just proves that we're weak.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, and we're not that way. And I'm glad that we can go to this place and encourage this man and see him do what he does. Now, I'm going to flip the script completely to this topic. We've been informed about some things here that we're doing here in the near future, next month, and articles that are written about this event we're about to do. And we're going to cover that here in the future. We're just going to do a little more homework. We're not backing down, by the way. We just don't feel like backing down is the right move. I'm not. We're not cowards. And you know what? I've spoken at places. Some of you would say, "Why did you go there?"
And we had people ask, "Why?"
Our own board asked, "Should we do it? Should we do that?" And I'll tell you, it was a log cabin Republican meeting. I've been invited to a couple of them to preach. It's where the gay conservatives or the gay Republicans, and we got to preach Jesus. And so people were like, "You shouldn't go there. You're associating with that. That's not. They're not real conservatives." I know. They're souls. They need Jesus. Dude, I go to conservative meetings and preach Jesus Christ, okay? I go to these homeschool events and I preach Jesus at these events. Doesn't matter where we go, Christ is being preached. And so there's an event coming up here, and we were informed by a person who wrote an article. They're doing some. We'll tell you more about it later. Yeah. We just want to do a little bit more homework on the people they're accusing, so that way we get our facts straight before we do it. Now, but what started it was we're a Christian nationalist event, and we keep seeing this thing. Some article was written about Charlie Kirk being a Christian nationalist and we don't ever really cover it because I just don't. We did, I guess, with that one.
I think we've done it twice in the last couple of years.
Yeah, what they're saying is we want God in the government. In other words, we want this government to be controlled by God and God alone. There's a lot to this, so I'll just be really brief about it. I may do a slideshow on this. I may do a presentation on this. I'm not sure. What they're really saying, without saying, is that we want a theocracy. And the reason why they won't call it a theocracy is maybe, one, they don't know what that is. But two, if people actually looked up the word theocracy, most of the people who are conservative would say, I don't want that. I don't want a state-run government, religion, and a religious government. I just want Christians to do morals. We want people to be moral in government. And so the reason why they don't want that is because then sin would be removed as a votable issue and leave it in the hands of the church. So what's been happening lately is this whole, Charlie Kirk wants a Christian government, and these guys are all Christian nationalists. And I've heard all the other commentators do this. They're just trying to scare you, and scare tactics. Don't believe what they're saying. And it's like, but I'm here to tell you, all I want is for Christians to step up and do their duty. I want Christians to step up and understand what their rights are before God and keep them. I want Christians to understand that we can't persecute people who don't believe like us. We cannot go after them by law because we disagree, unless they violate the rights of another. We don't want people to be killed or persecuted or marred because they're not Christian. That's not anything about that. All I want is a good, moral, upright government who gets out of the business of the church, out of the business of schools, out of the business of families, and actually does what it's supposed to do, according to Romans 13, is to punish evildoers and praise those who do good. That's the only function of government, that our rights are upheld and secured. And the term Christian nationalist, all they're really doing with that term is trying to convolute the term to make it seem like what we want is this Christian theocracy and state-run religion and state-run government religion. That's what they want you to believe, and it's not true. And so it's really kind of this end around, run around move.
And you'll notice they will always tie it back to white supremacy, extremism, far right, alt right, anti-Semitism, right? There's never if they're using the term to describe conservatives, rarely will they not start to drudge up those type of topics? Because what they want to do is they want to associate every evil possible with this idea of Christian nationalism. We're not even saying that we're Christian nationalists or anything. I'm so tired of the term. And I know what the term is being used for.
So dumb.
This is stupid, this whole thing. Look, we'll tell you, because you guys listen, you guys are supporters. If you're new, let's be clear about this. We care about men of honor and integrity being in government. Mm-hmm. We care about character being shown in those positions in government.
Right.
Governance of our daily affairs. I don't want politics. I don't want people in there trying to influence things for their own power, their own greed, their own mission, right? What I want are men of principle, men of character, men of conviction. The church has been told, you can't be a part of this at all. You can't even have an opinion. You need to step back. Just shut up, be quiet, sit down. What we're saying is, church, you have every right to be involved in the governance of your daily affairs. You have every right to organize as a body and determine who are the men of high character, high value, high principle that could be in these positions of governance.
That's right.
That's what we want.
That's right.
We want a respect of God and what God wants.
Because
God
is the giver of rights. And how are we going to maintain those rights if we don't honor the one who gave it to us? Now, what they're saying is the church. What they're actually accusing us of is what they're actually doing by saying you can't get involved as the church. Now, here's where I agree with them. The church establishment cannot be involved in a government. Listen to what I'm saying to you. In order to govern it, it's Christians who get involved to uphold the laws that are already written to maintain liberty and freedom, right? Now, again, if there's murder, we persecute it. If there's perversion, we prosecute that because it's violating the rights of another. If there's lying, yes, that's called perjury. We prosecute that in the highest courts of law and those kinds of things. But when it comes to daily lives, this is where we can't get involved as a government, again, unless they violate the rights of another. Right? When it comes to marriage, that does not belong to the government. It can't belong to the government because the government cannot sanction marriage because it doesn't do that. They don't even know what marriage is. See, the problem is government does not have a conscience. The government is an entity. We have the conscience. We, the people. This is why we're seeing the rise, and I'm just going to shoot straight, of this. If we don't elect this person, everything's going to go to pot. It's got to be this person or else. And dude, we are literally standing in the same courts, in the same feet, in the same land, in the same sentence as the children of Israel saying, we want a king like other nations. We can't maintain our own self-government. Therefore, we need one man to make sure that we can self-govern ourselves. That's in essence what they were telling the Lord. We don't need you, Lord. We need a man to help us do what we do. That is dangerous. And so we're seeing the rise of, because we feel we don't have a voice, the government already has you. You already feel like, I can't represent myself. There's too many things going on. There's no way this is going to change. Therefore, if that person gets in office, whoever it is, the left says it's either Biden or whoever they pick. For the right, it's either Trump or someone else that has to, well, mainly Trump. They're going to fix this nation. It's going to be what it's supposed to be. Dude, you guys don't even understand the authority of president then, because then now you've said this king can change our nation for righteousness. That is not the way it's supposed to be. See what I'm saying? So me as a Christian, I don't want to go in there and impose my Christianity on people. What I'm doing is protecting our rights that God gave us. In other words, no murder, protecting life, all those other things. People are like, see, you're imposing a religion. No, I'm imposing the fact that in our declaration, we have protection of rights, life, liberty. Among these are life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. And so it's not us being Christians and forcing them to go to church on Sundays. That's not what we're trying to do here, and make sure that you follow my rules. No, the God of heaven, according to our founders, our creator, ordained us with things from natural law. Natural law simply really means is the law within our hearts. If you read any of the works from the past and all these other things, and it was even John Quincy that said, It's the laws of nature that bind us to the laws of God, the 10 Commandments. So in other words, it's written in our hearts, our conscience. Even those who don't believe understand it's wrong to lie, to kill, to steal, all these other things. They just choose to disobey if they choose that. So what we're doing is teaching, and what we're doing is standing. And if we're in government, we want people protected, right? Even if that means that you sin within your own self and we don't agree with your lifestyle, you're still protected. Your life is still protected by our country, by our government.
And your liberty.
And your liberty. You can choose to do what you want to do. This is where the church government comes in. Jesus said it. Jesus said it. The fields are white with harvest, but the laborers are few. And I know I'm talking to somebody here, but when is the last time you went out and outreach to your neighbor about Jesus Christ? About, you need to confront their lifestyle, whatever it is. When I say lifestyle, people automatically think gay, whatever. I'm talking about even if they don't serve God, if they're drunkards, if they're in drugs, if they're into pornography, if they're into sexual deviancy, if they're, there's so many different issues.
Well, and whether there's an issue or not, if your neighbor doesn't have Christ,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. Like, and sometimes the most dangerous are the people who are the most comfortable. But are we stepping out and going, okay, I am Christ and I want to serve others and I know what Christ provides. It should move us in some way, shape, or form, some lane, somehow start presenting Christ to others around us. And that, back to the whole service thing, like I think that's kind of a theme in all of this is serving your neighbor, loving your neighbor as yourself.
That's good.
Well, with those 4 jurisdictions that we've talked about before, and Massey alluded to, your individual government, right? Your self-governance, you're serving Christ by obedience, by self-control, by self-governance. Serving your family, how do you serve your family with Christ, right? How do you love them? How do you sacrificially love your wife or your husband, right?
What legacy are you leaving them?
Right.
Inheritance.
Then we go to church government, because were you serving your body, serving the church, right?
Because self-governed men and women create great families that are self-governed that then collectively get together as the church. And the church becomes the servants of each other and the servants of our community, right? That's what it's supposed to be. Then we go preach the gospel so it advances more to create more Christians, right? That's what we do. And yes, I'm hearing it now from the liberals. These guys, that's all they want to do is make everyone Christian. Yeah. That's proselytization. Yeah. That is exactly what Jesus commanded me to do. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature.
I am so not sorry that I want you to have eternal life and contentment and satisfaction in Christ.
Right. And find contentment in Jesus, not yourself, not your lusts, not all these other things. And the other thing is, not everybody will be saved. So you got to keep preaching the gospel. The Bible's clear about that. Not all who hear the gospel will become Christians, but we don't know which ones who will hear. So continue to preach the gospel, right?
And to round this out, when you move from church governance to civil governance, community governance, guess what? You're still supposed to serve, right? So the church should be serving the community, right? What is governance? We've got to get this down. Everybody thinks the government, they're just this entity that's there to give me stuff and take care of me, keep me safe.
Isn't that the Lord's job?
Thank you.
That's the Lord. You literally replace God with government.
And this idea of governance, what is it really? It's management of the community. It's managing the daily affairs. And that's why the Declaration of Independence says that governments are instituted among men to secure these rights.
Yep.
That's the job of government.
By the way,
secure your rights.
It also says deriving their just powers from the consent of the
governed.
There you go.
So as an individual who's governing your family and your family's governing the church helps in the governance of the community.
100%.
AKA, you as a church member are called to get involved in how is my community being governed, right? And that's what prickles people because the church is getting involved and wants control. Service. How are we serving, right? Yeah. And that means, hey, I'm going to tell you about Christ. I'm going to inform you of Christ. I'm going to love you with Christ, whether or not you like it. because I have to serve you. Now, if you don't like it, you don't want it, fine. You are an individual. You have your liberty. You have your pursuit of happiness. You have your life. God bless you. Go do what you need to do, as long as it does not infringe on the rights of others.
Bingo. So one of the big things really fast about Christians, we're not to seek positions of power. We have a position of authority in Christ to go do what he's commanded us to do because we're sent by the King of Kings. We're not looking for positions of power. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite. Government in Romans 13 actually talks about in verse 4, for he is a minister of God to you for the good, right? So what happens is what we're doing in government and what we do is to serve one another and protect each other. That is the role of government. And so when that happens, this isn't about authority. This isn't about position or place or power. This is about, I have a greater responsibility to you and the accountability I have towards God to make sure that I've done my role and my duty well. If you look in scripture, positions of eldership, positions of pastoral, positions of those kind of leadership positions, the rich were held in much high standards because they were giving a position of authority, a position of power per se. And the best people I know that have the position of power and authority were the ones not looking for it, but they know they have an accountability to God and to man to make sure they do it right.
And guess what they are? They're the biggest servants.
Servants.
They're the biggest servants.
Jesus was the greatest servant on earth, washed his disciples' feet. This guy was, he was crowned the king of the Jews. Even Peter said, you're the son of God, and then Jesus said to him, flesh and blood did not reveal that to you. This guy came in flesh, and he could have been like dominating the whole thing. King of the Jews, he could have been. He could have been over here if he wanted to. He could have called on the angels and destroyed everything, and he didn't. He came as a servant to teach us servanthood. That's exactly what he came to do, is to serve one another. He came to be baptized like us to show us the importance of baptism. He came down and preached the gospel and did good works to show us how to do those things. As a matter of fact, he even says, go make disciples of all nations, teaching them what I've commanded you to do.
And isn't it funny? Our whole message is, Christians, go serve your fellow man, go serve your community in governance. No, don't do that. It's Christian nationalism. Do you see how the enemy will try to get you off track? He's going to try and make it divisive, make it embarrassing, make you second guess, make you doubt so that you're quiet. And then Satan can do what he wants to do, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not flesh and blood, right? It's spiritual. So there's spiritual warfare going on. Your job is to be a Christian in this community, in your church, in your family, as yourself. Be a servant. Be a steward of what God has given you.
And I don't think the Lord's going to entrust you with a position of authority if you've not proven to be a servant with what you've been given now. To be in a position of prominence, man, is not something to be sought after. It's actually something to die to. To me, the more authority you get, like me as a preacher, I die to myself daily because I know the responsibility and the weight it bears. And so all of us who preach, all of us who are in positions of authority or whatever, should be understanding that we've been given that authority by the people we represent. Therefore, we have to protect those people. 1, 2, uphold the laws that are already written. Our Constitution was great. Not the best, we can see errors everywhere in a lot of different things, but it's the closest document to making sure that rights would be protected and secured. President doesn't have that authority that we claim to give him now. The Supreme Court shouldn't be legislating from the bench, which they do now. The first amendment, or the first article, what talks about Congress and them, what are they doing? It's like I fear, like John Adams said, that we're going to be standing before God one day, and He's going to hold us accountable for what we did and didn't do. Right. With all the positions we have, not just in church, not just our sin, but what we were entrusted with. What are we doing with that? And it shouldn't be a fear of I'm going to be punished. It should be a fear of, Lord, I did not do with what you've given me to do. I did not do well with what you've given me. And I want to make sure that we can all say, well done, like that He's going to say of us, well done, I should say. I want that. I want to make sure that my sons know we fought for them. We did everything we could to make sure that they could have a better society. It was Thomas Paine that said, yep, he said that. I had it in my head. If there be trouble, he said, let it be in my days so that my child may have peace. I mean, that to me is like the anthem cry of every parent. I want to make sure to build a life better for my sons and daughters and not kick the can down the road so they have to deal with it. What cowards of people that we think that would do that. And government does it every day. They just keep spending money. They keep passing these laws. These kids getting transition changes and all these other things. Like, this can't last very long. But you see the Lord actually upending that. They're attacking each other now. This, you can't keep sinning in a nation and it won't catch up. It's already happening. You're seeing the left attack themselves. You're seeing the right get demolished, really. Like, you can't see, rhinos don't exist anymore because they're not even Republican at this point as far as conservatism. You're seeing both sides just kind of eat each other up. And you're seeing God saying, I told you. I told you, I'm not the author of confusion, but you see all that confusion because that's who you followed. And now we're warning people today and every other podcast, be careful of the confusion they're getting you caught up in. Like, Christian nationalism, that's confusion. Get out of here. You stand for the convictions of God put in you, and you go protect the rights of man. And we stand for the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we're going to keep proclaiming that with the authority and power he's given us to do, and we'll continue to do that. And when people see your good works, they will glorify your Father, which is in heaven. That's exactly the scriptures. And you know what? If we had more people in this nation like that, I think we would have a better society, and we will eventually, God willing, unless he comes back, which then, okay, we're with him. Anyways.
All right. Well, guys, don't forget, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Check it out. If you are in the Ontario, California area, please come down and visit us. What's our booth number?
913 and 915.
913, 915. Come see us. We would love to see you. Massey's got a couple more speaking engagements. So be sure to check your schedule, find out when he's speaking. Are all of them in the same room?
I don't know.
Okay. So I won't tell the room because who knows? Anyways, love you guys. Y'all have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.